is something we all try to avoid, something we instinctively want to run from. But what if I told you that the first step toward true strength is not ignoring your pain, not pretending it doesn't exist, but actually looking at it, facing it, and saying, I see you, and I will not let you control me. Pain is not a flaw in your life, it is a signal, a message that something needs your attention, that something within you is ready to grow. Too often we wear masks to hide our struggles, smiling on the outside while we are silently bleeding on the inside. And while the world may applaud the mask, the truth is that masks do not heal, they only hide. True courage begins when you remove the mask and acknowledge the reality of your feelings. It is not easy to admit that you are hurting. There is a natural instinct to appear strong, to convince others, and sometimes even yourself, that you are okay. But hiding pain only buries it deeper. And when it's buried, it grows in ways that can harm your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Acknowledging your pain does not make you weak. In fact, it makes you human. And human beings have an extraordinary capacity for resilience when they face reality instead of denying it. When you allow yourself to feel the discomfort, the sadness, or the anger, you are giving yourself the opportunity to understand it. And understanding is the first step toward transformation. Think about the moments in your life when you felt broken, moments when everything seemed to fall apart. It is tempting in those moments to push the feelings away, to tell yourself to just get over it or to be strong. But real strength does not come from suppression. It comes from acceptance. It comes from sitting with your pain long enough to hear what it is teaching you. Pain can be a mirror, reflecting truths about your life that you may have been ignoring. It can reveal your deepest fears, your unmet needs, and the boundaries you need to set. Pain is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also honest. It does not lie. And when you acknowledge it, you are choosing to see the truth about yourself, about your life, and about the world around you. Acknowledgement is also the gateway to healing. Once you recognize that pain exists, you can make decisions about how to respond. You gain clarity about what needs to change and what you can no longer tolerate. It becomes the foundation for setting boundaries, for letting go of toxic relationships, and for taking steps toward a life that aligns with your values. Ignoring pain may keep you in a state of temporary comfort, but it will never lead to growth. Facing it even when it feels unbearable opens the door to empowerment. There is power in naming your struggles. When you put words to your pain, when you speak it aloud to yourself or to someone you trust, you take the first step toward reclaiming control over it. Silence can make pain feel like an invisible cage, but acknowledgement gives it shape and dimension, allowing you to work with it rather than against it. And in this process, you begin to understand that pain is not something to fear, it is something to learn from. It becomes less of a burden and more of a guide, a force that can lead you to courage, to empathy, and to resilience that you never imagined you had. So today, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Do not hide your pain. Do not pretend it does not exist. Face it, name it, and honor it. Because by acknowledging your pain, you are taking the first step on a journey that will transform suffering into strength, weakness into wisdom, and heartbreak into power. This is where real growth begins. Once we acknowledge our pain, the next step is to see it not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Pain is not just something that happens to us, it is something that speaks to us if we are willing to listen. Life is full of experiences that challenge us, that break us in ways we never imagined, and it is easy to see these moments as unfair, as obstacles meant to keep us down. But what if the very struggles that feel like punishment are actually opportunities in disguise? What if pain is trying to show us something deeper, something about ourselves, our choices, or the life we are creating? When you shift your perspective, you begin to understand that suffering is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of transformation. Every heartbreak, every failure, every disappointment carries a lesson that is waiting to be uncovered. And it is in these lessons that true power is born. Pain forces us to reflect, to ask hard questions, and to confront truths that we might otherwise ignore. It can show us where we have been settling for less than we deserve, where we have ignored our own needs, or where we have allowed fear to guide our decisions. When we see pain in this light, it becomes less about what is happening to us and more about what we can learn from it. Think about the times in your life when you have been hurt deeply. At first, it may have felt unbearable, as if the world had turned against you. But over time, perhaps you noticed that those moments forced you to grow, forced you to become more resilient, more aware, more compassionate. Pain has a way of refining us, like fire strengthens steel. The wounds that once seemed impossible to bear can become the very source of wisdom that guides you in the future. But this can only happen when we choose to see pain as a teacher, rather than a thief. Shifting perspective does not mean minimizing what you are feeling. It does not mean pretending that hurt is enjoyable or easy to endure. It simply means asking yourself, what is this trying to teach me? When you start asking that question, your suffering begins to transform. You begin to notice patterns, to see lessons in failure, to recognize opportunities for growth in situations that once seemed hopeless. Pain becomes a roadmap, showing you where change is needed and where courage is required. It challenges you to step out of the role of victim and into the role of student and warrior in your own life. One of the most powerful aspects of learning from pain is the clarity it brings. When life breaks you, it also has the power to wake you up. You begin to understand what truly matters, what aligns with your values and what does not. You start to recognize the relationships, habits, and beliefs that no longer serve you. You gain insight into your own strength, resilience, and potential. Pain is a teacher that never lies, that never sugarcoats, but it also never asks you to face it alone. It pushes you to discover the parts of yourself that are capable of surviving, thriving, and rising above circumstances that once seemed insurmountable. So, the next time you face difficulty, I want you to remember this. Pain is not your enemy. It is a guide, a mentor, a mirror that reflects the lessons you need to learn. It may not be gentle in how it delivers its message, but it is precise and honest. When you view suffering through this lens, you begin to see opportunities for growth where others see only despair. You begin to turn obstacles into stepping stones and heartbreak into a blueprint for courage and resilience. Embrace your pain and let it teach you. The lessons it brings are the tools that will shape your future, the wisdom that will empower you, and the strength that we carry you forward. In the classroom of life, pain is one of the greatest teachers you will ever have, if only you have the courage to learn from it. Pain teaches us lessons, but lessons alone are not enough. It is what we do with the emotions that come from that pain that defines our future. Every hurt, every disappointment, every setback carries a charge. Anger, sadness, frustration, even fear. And these emotions are powerful. They can either consume you, leaving you stuck in a cycle of despair, or they can become fuel, propelling you forward toward growth, change, and success. The difference lies in how you respond. Feeling deeply is human, but remaining paralyzed by those feelings is a choice. The true transformation happens when you channel emotions into action. Emotions are energy, and energy, when directed, has the power to create. Think about it. Every invention, every breakthrough, every movement in history was sparked by someone who felt something deeply and chose to act on it. Pain, when felt and acknowledged, carries a momentum that can either weigh you down or lift you higher. But that momentum will not work for you unless you harness it. When you decide to turn your frustration into determination, your fear into courage, your heartbreak into a drive to create, are taking control of your life. You are taking your inner turmoil and converting it into a force that can shape your reality. It starts with awareness. Notice how you feel without judgment and ask yourself, what can I do with this energy right now? How can this feeling serve me? If you are angry, channel it into working harder, into setting boundaries, into advocating for yourself. If you are sad, channel it into reflection, creativity, or connection with others who need your empathy. If you feel fear, channel it into preparation, planning, and taking the small steps that will build confidence. Every emotion is a resource, and like any resource, it is valuable only if you put it to use. Action does not need to be monumental. It can be as simple as writing down your thoughts, setting a new goal, or having a conversation that you have been avoiding. Small steps, taken consistently, create momentum. And as momentum builds, emotions lose their grip over you and instead become the driving force behind your progress. Pain and frustration stop being obstacles and start being signals, pointing you toward growth, change, and opportunity. By acting, even imperfectly, you are reclaiming your power. You are telling life that you will not be defined by what happened to you, but by how you respond to it. There will be moments when emotions feel overwhelming. Anger may boil up uncontrollably. Grief may feel endless. Fear may try to freeze every step you take. In those moments, action is even more critical. Not reckless action, but intentional action. Channel that storm into something constructive. Go for a run. Write in your journal. Speak your truth. Take steps toward a goal you have been avoiding. Every act, no matter how small, reminds your mind and heart that you are in control, that you are the one shaping your story. When you consistently turn feelings into action, a remarkable shift occurs. You start to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as an active creator of your life. You realize that no matter how deep the hurt, no matter how heavy the burden, you possess the ability to move forward, to grow, and to thrive. Emotions are not enemies, they are allies. When you master the art of channeling them into action, pain transforms into purpose, frustration becomes fuel, and despair turns into determination. So today I challenge you to look at your emotions not as something to suppress, ignore, or fight, but as a power source waiting for direction. Let your feelings guide you, but let your actions define you. Every step you take in response to what you feel is a step toward the life you want, the strength you seek, and the person you are becoming. Act on your emotions, and you will find that even the heaviest pain can become the driving force for your greatest achievements. The journey of transforming pain into power is not one you have to walk alone, and it is impossible to do it in an environment that drains you. The people and energy you allow into your life have a profound effect on your mindset, your resilience, and your ability to rise above challenges. Just as a plant grows toward the light, we grow toward the energy that surrounds us. If the energy around you is toxic, negative, or dismissive of your dreams, it can stunt your growth. But when you choose to surround yourself with uplifting, positive energy, you create a climate where your strength can flourish. Uplifting energy comes from people, environments, and even the thoughts you allow yourself to dwell on. It is the encouragement, the support, and the belief from others that reminds you of your worth when your own faith wavers. It is the laughter to hope, and the inspiration that makes the heaviness of life feel lighter. When you are around people who celebrate your growth, challenge you to rise, and believe in your potential, you begin to internalize that energy. You start to believe in yourself not just because you are told to, but because you see it reflected in the world around you. Equally important is recognizing the sources of energy that drain you. Negative influences, constant criticism, envy, and unresolved drama weigh heavily on your spirit. They are like shadows that dim your light, keeping you small and fearful. Part of transforming your life is learning to let go of these energies, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Surrounding yourself with uplifting energy does not mean avoiding reality or pretending problems do not exist. It means choosing to invest your time, attention, and emotions where they are nurtured rather than depleted. It means being intentional about who and what has access to your heart and mind. Books, music, mentors, and communities are also sources of uplifting energy. The messages you consume shape the way you perceive yourself and your world. Inspirational stories remind you that struggle is temporary and that courage and persistence create triumph. Listening to voices that motivate you and learning from people who have faced adversity and risen gives you a roadmap for your own journey. Every positive influence you invite into your life adds fuel to the fire of your inner strength. It is also about the energy you bring to yourself. Self-talk is a powerful force. If you are constantly criticizing yourself or replaying failures in your mind, it becomes almost impossible to see above pain. But when you speak to yourself with encouragement, patience, and love, you are creating an internal environment that mirrors the external energy you seek. Positive energy is contagious, and when you cultivate it within yourself, it attracts similar energy from the world around you. Surrounding yourself with uplifting energy is not selfish, it is necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you want to transform pain into power, if you want to channel emotions into action, if you want to grow, you must protect your spirit. This is not about isolating yourself from reality, but about creating a supportive ecosystem that nourishes your resilience and reminds you of your potential. Life is full of challenges, but when the energy around you lifts you, even the heaviest burdens feel lighter, even the darkest moments feel manageable, and even the longest journeys feel possible. So, be intentional about the company you keep, the spaces you occupy, and the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind. Seek out those who inspire you, environments that energize you, and ideas that challenge you to grow. Protect your energy as fiercely as you protect your dreams, and watch how this intentional surrounding transforms your capacity to rise, to act, and to thrive. The energy you choose to absorb will either lift you to your highest potential or hold you back from the life you are meant to live. Choose wisely and let your surroundings empower the transformation you are creating. When we talk about transforming pain into power, the final step is not just about surviving, not just about finding strength for yourself, but about rising stronger and using your journey to inspire others. True power is never meant to be kept in isolation. It grows when it is shared, when it lights a path for others who are walking through their own darkness. Every time you rise from hardship, every time you take the lessons of your struggles and turn them into action, you become a beacon. People look at you and see what is possible, and that ripple effect is more powerful than you can imagine. Rising stronger begins with recognizing that your past does not define you, but your response to it does. Pain can leave scars, but it also leaves wisdom, resilience, and a deeper understanding of life. These are the gifts that only struggle can provide. When you embrace your scars and use them as a source of strength, you demonstrate a truth that cannot be taught in books or classrooms, that hardship can be transformed into courage and weakness into determination. People are inspired not by someone who never falls, but by someone who falls, rises, and keeps moving forward despite the odds. Inspiring others does not require grand gestures or public recognition. Often, it is the quiet example of living courageously that has the most profound impact. It is the friend who continues to smile despite loss, the student who keeps studying despite repeated failures, the neighbor who chooses kindness in the face of cruelty. Every act of resilience, every choice to persevere, sends a message to the world that pain is not the end, but the beginning of growth. And when others see you rise, They feel a spark of hope in their own hearts, a belief that they too can overcome, too can transform their struggles into strength. Your story, your journey, and your transformation carry immense power. Do not underestimate the impact of sharing your experiences, of speaking about your challenges and how you face them. Vulnerability, when coupled with action, becomes a source of inspiration. When you show the world that it is possible to endure, to learn, and to thrive, you are planting seeds of courage in others. Even a single word, a single story, a single act of resilience can ignite hope in someone who thought they could not continue. Your life becomes a living testimony that rising stronger is not only possible, but inevitable for those who refuse to give up. But rising stronger is not only about inspiration for others, it is also about creating a life that aligns with your values and purpose. It is about taking your pain, your lessons, and your growth and using them to contribute, to uplift, and to make a difference. Power without purpose can feel hollow, but power directed towards service, empathy, and encouragement becomes legacy. When you channel your strength into helping others, you transform the pain that once weighed you down into a force that elevates everyone around you. And remember, inspiration is contagious. When you rise after being knocked down, you challenge the world's narrative about what is possible. You redefine strength, resilience, and courage. People begin to see that obstacles are not roadblocks but opportunities, that failure is not final but a stepping stone, and that every hardship carries a lesson and a chance to grow. By choosing to rise stronger, you create a ripple that spreads far beyond your own life, touching hearts and minds in ways you may never fully realize. So, as you move forward, carry this truth with you, your journey. From pain to power does not end when you heal. It continues when you rise, when you act, when you inspire. Let your story be a light for those still walking in darkness. Let your courage encourage, your resilience empower, and your strength remind others that they too can rise. In rising stronger and inspiring others, you complete the cycle of transformation, turning the deepest struggles into the greatest legacy of hope.